Hi, this is Larry Bauer, Chief Executive Officer of the Family Medicine Education Consortium, and I have the pleasure today to be talking with Dr. Lauren Bowen, who is Provost at Juniata College and Professor of Politics. Dr. Bowen, thanks for joining with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Dr. Bowen, you and I had a conversation some months ago, and you shared some very interesting thoughts about your school and your vision for your school and how you'd like your school to be known, the kind of students that you are hoping to attract and do attract, and the kind of graduates that you would like to produce. And I'm wondering, could you share with the audience your vision for your school?
Sure. So Juniata was founded in 1876 by members of the Church of the Brethren. The core values of Juniata have always been around those values of service, peace, simplicity, and community. And I think how we've grown and adapted over time, we want to remain true to those values and educate in a liberal arts environment students from all across the country. And having said that, our particular niche in recent memory has been students. About 3/4 of our students come from Pennsylvania. Many of them, about a quarter to a third, are first-generation college students. And we admit, I would say, a critical mass are interested in pursuing the health professions. And so when you bring those things together, I think what we have imagined Juniata as being is a dynamic place where students can explore what their passions are, and in a way that allows them to give back to the communities from which they come, for many of them. And so a lot of them want to seek a career in health professions, and they want to do it in a way that, they understand that as being part of helping professions. And while they arrive with that broad commitment, for many of them, they, of course, first-year college students, they're learning about what that means. And so what we try to do is provide them not only with the foundational curriculum, but the kinds of experiences that will prepare them well for life after college. And so I think what we must have talked about in the past was my vision that Juniata could be a place that's deeply committed to preparing students for the health professions, and understanding as a rural liberal arts college, there's a particular need for us to be able to provide meaningful health care in rural settings. So in addition to preparing them for life after college, the experiences we try and create allow them to be in partnership with this community and the communities from where they come, and trying to change the model of how we deliver health care, so that communities are healthier, and so that students also have the experience to have agency in their lives and to help others have agency in theirs as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And you've had some experience with the Health Profession Affinity Community Project, Dr. Jenna Weisblatt and her team. Could you talk a little bit about how that is playing out at your school?
Sure. Dr. Weisblatt and I have been in some conversation about how to replicate the model that she's used so successfully in Ohio, where college students and high school students are empowered to, the initiative has different names in different places, but a Force for Health kind of project. So it's deploying students to be in partnership with their communities to understand what it takes to be healthy and to advocate for one's own health. So she and I have talked about how to replicate that, or on a smaller scale here, and how to grow it in partnership with Dr. Rob Gillio, who's a local physician here in Huntington and who works for J.C. Blair Hospital. And so the three of us have been in some discussion about how we might learn from the Ohio experience and start in Huntington County, and then try and grow that into a broader Pennsylvania coalition, working with you and with others.
Wonderful, thank you. Are any of your students right now working on projects that you could comment on?
Sure. Dr. Gillio has partnered with our health professions advisor, as well as our director, who is Dr. Mandy Siglin, and Dr. Sarah Worley, who's our director of community engaged learning, to rely on some of our students for internships through the Force for Health program. And what's cool about it, some of those students are health professions, but some of those students are also communication students or information technology students, and they come together to think about, again, how to make healthcare more accessible and available and affordable, and again, working in partnership with local communities. And so we've had interns working with J.C. Blair Hospital in Huntington and with Dr. Gilio and his Force for Health project over the last couple of years. Yeah.
And what kind of projects? What kind of things will these young folks be doing?
So that's a fair question. It varies by student and by their interest, but some of it has been working towards developing an app where folks from home can regulate their manage their own healthcare through an application that might be grown by information technology students. Other kinds of projects have to do with community organizing and how to deliver healthcare in the local community. And other projects, many of them are more around public health, effective communication, making citizens aware of the resources and the opportunities that they have.
So this is this extra curricular kinds of activity, or is it integrated into the curriculum in some way?
It's both. Even for students who are earning internship credit, they're often working individually, but they are earning credit for the experience. And then we've also taught, had Dr. Gilio and his partner from the hospital, her name's Chris Calday, teach a health communication course as a night class on our campus, which we don't do night classes very often, but the nice thing about delivering a once-a-week night class is it gave students the opportunity to gather as a collective once a week and then work on group projects that would benefit the community. And they were able to present the results of those projects to folks from the Pennsylvania Department of Health last spring at the end of the 2018 semester and share what they had learned. So it's both individual and collective group-based efforts.
I have to imagine that students, I'm thinking back in my college days in particular, and the focus on what you might call service learning or those kinds of community service and learning through those kinds of experiences was not something that was emphasized. And it sounds like you really are making this, this aligns well with your sense of purpose and mission for your organization.
Well, I appreciate that because I would say that you're right. The emphasis on service learning and community engaged learning has gained a great deal of traction over the last 20 to 25 years, and we've embraced it at Juniata. And we've embraced it so much that a year ago, the faculty enacted a new comprehensive curriculum that every student will need to complete in order to be known as a Juniata graduate or to receive a Juniata degree. And one of the key elements of that is a local engagement experience. So as of this fall, every entering student will be expected and supported in having some kind of local engagement experience. It could be, as we talked about, at the individual level, or it could be part of a class or part of a group project. It could be in this community, it could be in their home community, it could be somewhere else in a study abroad site, but each one of our students will be given the tools and resources to engage in meaningful community action by the time they graduate.
That's just amazing. It's fantastic. You're raising a new generation who have a sense of commitment and responsibility for the larger community. And so the education really isn't just about their own achievement, it's about their achievement plus their ability to give back.
I think that's right, and I would say that it also gives them the opportunity to reflect on their experiences and what they've learned from them. And so we do emphasize being in community and with community. It's not doing for a community, but it's really being in partnership and in solidarity. And in fact, last week on campus we had a workshop focused on how we were going to begin to implement this curriculum. And there was a panel of some of our community partners who came to campus and talked with the faculty about what they expect, what they need, and how they want to work collaboratively with the college and with college faculty and college students to advance the needs of a community. So I see it as mutually beneficial, certainly powerful for students, but also powerful for the community agencies, and for all of us who have the good fortune to work with students.
Well, I just think that's very impressive that the local community would see your students as a resource. I have heard comments at times from people in the larger community, not in Juniata but elsewhere, that show me a student who comes and they're just supposed to do shadowing or they're supposed to stay out of the way. But you're talking about real engagement and really making a difference in the community partners appreciating and expecting that.
I think that's absolutely the goal, and I think because we do have such a large number of students interested in pursuing health professions in a variety of ways, there's a lot of great opportunities for us to demonstrate what those kinds of partnerships and commitments can look like. So again, to use your language, it's not just having students shadow and push them out of the way, but it's engaging them as undergraduates in being partners. And I think that's a more efficient way for us to deliver a lot of social goods. I also think it's empowering for students, and I think it's good for communities as well. Having said that, I mean, we make sure students are adequately trained and have the necessary expertise. We appreciate we also have a lot to learn as we embark on this, and so it's done, I think, very thoughtfully and purposefully.
So this is you're just a few years into this experience. Looking down, just kind of with a crystal ball, where would you like to? What are the possibilities that you can foresee?
What I would love to see happen, particular to HPAC, I think, is for Juniata to really be a place that is known for its commitment to rural health and to, at the same time, educating for the greater good in a liberal arts environment. And putting those two things together, being able to deploy and rely on engaged and energetic college students and to attract students who are deeply committed to advancing healthcare and social justice, and especially in a rural environment. I think there's a good bit we can do to contribute to the greater good and also to the body of knowledge. I think there's energy that comes from students working in partnership with community. I think there's research that could come from that. And again, I think this could be a really nice lab or engine of social change around rural healthcare.
So I'm curious, how do your faculty respond? How do they see this process?
Well, that's a good question. It's faculty are not a monolith, so it's hard to speak for all of them. In general, I mean, I will tell you that the local engagement requirement in the new curriculum passed by an overwhelming majority. I think the final vote was 88 to 18, which suggests that this faculty was very committed to this curriculum, which local engagement is part of it. It really is about empowering students to challenge the status quo, to think about how we know what we know, how we as students or they as students can deconstruct knowledge and add to the body of knowledge, and understand that experience is absolutely essential to that. This faculty has always been committed to internships and mentored research and study abroad, and community engaged learning is now sort of the fourth experiential high impact practice that's part of the menu, and I think the synthesis of those is what really gets the faculty excited. We've talked about seeking external support so that we could grow a rural health initiative, so that we could add some more formal curriculum around public health and global health, and I think there's an appetite for that as we move forward.
That is wonderful. I just have a mental image of this blossoming, organically growing energy that's bringing the community, the faculty, the students all together, and it would, I would think, would make your school an even more valued asset for the surrounding community.
Well, I think so. I appreciate that. And I should note that we already have a well-established Center for Peace and Conflict Studies, and we are in the midst of developing what we're calling a Center for the Public Good. And I think that if we can also grow a Center for Rural Health, that those three centers can come together as well and reinforce one another to enact everything that you've been describing.
So is there anything else that you would like to pass on to folks who may be listening who are in institutions like yours, colleges or universities, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania? Any comments or observations?
Well, I think there's a lot of resources available for schools or folks who want to join us in this work. I think Campus Compact is a wonderful organization, and there's a Pennsylvania chapter to think about and provide resources around community engaged learning. I think AmeriCorps has provided support for some of these initiatives, and so there are opportunities to be able to begin this work. And I also think there's the opportunity to collaborate, and I would welcome having the the occasion to talk with folks from other schools about the work we're doing and how we might be in partnership with others. I'd love to see student exchanges, perhaps in the summer months, where students from urban areas could be involved in healthcare in our rural community, and our students could perhaps be in more urban areas. Or, you can imagine all kinds of possibilities, so that throughout Pennsylvania, there really, is this energy around students being able to work in partnership and collaboration with healthcare providers.
That's also wonderful. So here in Ohio, we've grown what we're calling the Ohio Alliance. So we have a number of schools up in the Northeast, in the central part of the state, and down in the southern part of the state. We're all working through the HPAC model, each applying it in their own unique way, but using some core principles that Dr. Weisblatt and her team have created. It's my hope that we can work with you, Dr. Bowen, and others in the state of Pennsylvania to grow a Pennsylvania Alliance that would have its own leadership structure and its own programs. And I think as we're able to adapt these ideas in different settings, this idea will spread wings, and we'll have a new. What you're doing is different from most of what I'm familiar with in Ohio. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for cross-institutional learning.
I think so too, and I think it's very exciting what's been accomplished in Ohio, and to imagine those of us in Pennsylvania being able to learn from that and build on that, and yet make it our own.
So I'm just going to throw a little ad in, because we have an annual meeting that will be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, this November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And since 2012, we have given scholarships for high school and college students to come to our meeting. Mostly they came out of NeoMed, Northeastern Ohio Medical University, because that's where the program first began. But we're beginning to expand those scholarships so that high school and college students can come to a meeting that's primarily medical students, residents, and faculty. They participate in our session mostly on Saturday of the meeting. They present posters. And the feedback we've gotten from students, from faculty, and actually from parents is that it's very empowering for high school and college students to come to a academic professional meeting and to participate in a meaningful way that's valued by the usual conference attenders. So we're intending to offer scholarships to your students and other students from the state of Pennsylvania this year, so we can begin to grow this relationship.
I think that'd be great. I would love to bring a team to Lancaster and be able to participate in the conference with you.
Fantastic. Dr. Bowen, is there anything else that you would like to add at this point?
I appreciate your leadership of this and the opportunity to be involved, and I think it's got tremendous potential and is very exciting, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate your taking the time to talk with me today.
You're very welcome.
So I just pushed